So thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. My first question to you is that since this bill has been cleared, has been passed by both the houses in America, and now it's in the White House on President Biden's table, and ahead of him signing this bill, which will become a law, this US Congressional bipartisan delegation is in Dharamshala, and perhaps the delegation has also met Dalai Lama. How do you look at this move by US government?
Siddhant, today is a momentous day for us, and it's a very important and symbolic for not just Tibetans in exile, but also all the Tibetans and those who are also living under the repressions of China. Right. So Tibet Resolve Act, for the last 2 years or more, we have been working on this bill to pass, and both the Senate and the House of Representatives have signed it in huge, overwhelming majority. In fact, if you look at those days, it was like unanimously, some sort of like unanimously support. So what it indicates is the United States people also support the Tibetan movement. Why? The question is why? Because Tibet's cause is for justice. Tibet's cause is for freedom. Tibet's cause is for equality. Tibet's cause is for Tibetan identity, survival of the Tibetan identity. So this Tibet Act, in fact, if the President Biden signs it as soon as possible, then it will become a law where China will also be, they will let the Chinese be on the table to talk about the aspirations of Tibetan people. So it is a very important bill. Yes.
So yesterday, ahead of the meeting between the US delegation and Dalai Lama, China has reacted strongly to this visit of delegation to Dharamshala. In fact, if you allow me, I would like to read excerpt from the statement that has been issued by Chinese Foreign Ministry. And the statement says, and I quote, "We urge the US side to adhere to its commitments of recognizing Xinjiang, which is Tibet, as a part of China and not supporting independence. The US must not sign the bill into law. China will take resolute measures to firmly defend its sovereignty, security, and development interest," unquote. How do you see this strong reaction to this visit coming from China ahead of the meet?
See, China is always being confused. And whenever it's happening with the Tibetan community, Tibetan struggle, they will always be in fume and fused. Right? Even at this matter, when the high-level congressional delegation comes over here, they made the statement, right? But somehow China need to introspect and to see what they have done so far for the Tibetan people. Right? Since the occupation of Tibet in 1945 to 49 to 50s, right? What have they done for the people? So they haven't done anything. So what we are asking for, the Central Tibetan Administration, for the long time, consistently asking for, is the genuine autonomy. It is nothing to do with the sovereignty. It is nothing to do with the sovereignty. Right? It is not about the secessionist. It is about being with China, mutually benefiting the Chinese and the Tibetan, as long as the Tibetan aspirations are being served. So they are still, Chinese are very confused. And since they are confused, so I think the United States are giving them a lesson by saying that what you have been doing so far was wrong.
So in fact, yesterday only there was a response which we got from Chinese embassy in New Delhi, and embassy said, and I quote, "Reincarnation of living Buddhas, including the Dalai Lama, must comply with the Chinese law and regulations and follow religious rituals and historical conventions," unquote. How do you see this response coming from Chinese representative in India?
Of course, yes. Of course. Resolve Tibet Act talks about Tibetan, the resolutions of the Sino-Tibetan conflict without preconditions, right? Considering the fact that Tibet was historically not part of China, right? So it aligned with the Middle Way policy. But what the Chinese government in the embassy in Delhi was talking about is about reincarnation. It's a topic subject. so far, historically and traditionally, China do not have any legitimate authority on the reincarnation, right?
Okay.
Because China, under the Xi Jinping, was talking about Tibetan Buddhism or Chinese characteristics.
Yeah.
Tibetan Buddhism belongs to China. No, Tibetan Buddhism comes from India. Is a Nalanda.
Okay.
So what we've been talking about, this 700 long history, more than 700 long history of this reincarnation in Tibet, has nothing to do with the Chinese government, Chinese history.
Okay.
It is purely a Tibetan tradition, right?
Okay.
And regarding His Holiness reincarnation, who could be the better person to speak about the reincarnation other than His Holiness? His Holiness is the legitimate one to talk about his own reincarnation, not the Chinese government, who is not believing in religion. In fact, if you can tell the Chinese government how many monasteries they have destroyed so far. Since 1959, we have a record of more than 6,000 monasteries destroyed. Are they benefactors? No.
Okay.
Right. They are the destroyer of Dharma. If they are the destroyer of Dharma, how can they earn the legitimacy over the traditions of Buddhism? They cannot.
Okay.
Well, sir, since the announcement of this visit, in fact, when this bill was also passed by both the houses in America, there is a lot of commentary that we are hearing. In fact, many geopolitical experts are also saying, and those who are, especially those who are the critiques of US policies, they are saying that this attempt is being deliberately made by United States. This move is being deliberately made by United States, which could perhaps result in making the region unstable. And in fact, this could also make India a party. So how do you look at this particular commentary coming from many geopolitical experts? Because if you remember, sir, at the time of Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, post the visit, China played a lot of war games around Taiwan, and there was tension in South China Sea. And at the same time, tension increased between China and America, and it took almost 1 year for both countries to come to the tables again. How do you see this? And if geopolitical experts are saying that this is a deliberate attempt move by China to and which could result in instability in the region?
See, when you look at from one lens, then we purely talk about this hard politics, this south, north, and then about this east and west and all these things. But in fact, when you look at Tibet issue, it is not the issue of Tibetan people alone.
Okay.
Right? So India has a huge stake also, right? So when we talk about Tibet issue, right, we strongly believe that if the resolution based on the middle way policy, which was initially conceived by His Holiness, is not just for the sake of Tibetans, but also to China, but also to India, to the sake of humanity. So therefore, I think all the international community has a responsibility also, not just because Tibet issue is a global issue, but also they have moral responsibility to help Tibet, right? And therefore, I think China, whatever they can do, whether they will take resolute measures against America or India or whosoever, first thing what they need to do is to introspect within themselves. How will they be able to sustain further if they remain isolationist in their own mindset, thinking that, oh, they have the mandate of heaven? No, right? So I think it's the right moment for the China to look into themselves and then clear the mess which they have for the last 4 decades. So that includes, the Sino-Tibetan conflict.